You ever make a video where you just know you're going to get a lot of hate? This is one of them. So look folks, I was going to film this video, no, I'm rolling. I was going to film this video to share with you guys some news about what seems to be coming from Canon with a couple of new cameras. Everyone loves to hear the latest rumors. For Canon shooters, it's exciting to know that some new things are on the way. But as I sat down and started to go through what the direction they're taking overall is, I just can't make sense of it. Now I know, and you know, I'm a Nikon shooter, and among other things, I don't want to come across as a Canon hater. I actually think their mirrorless are some of my favorite mirrorless on the market. And I've been a Canon shooter in the past. I've owned 1DXs and blah, blah, blah. But I just want to have a discussion with you guys. Share in the comments your thoughts. No hate, no shade, but I don't get the logic of what's going on here. Now, before I share my thoughts and potentially get yelled at in the... So, what I was starting out to talk about was the R1 and the R6 Mark II. So, two new bodies coming from Canon in the near-ish future. New gear is always exciting and fun. So first of all, the R1, unfortunately, it looks like it's nowhere coming soon, that it's going to be Q3 of 2023, so roughly a year away from now, that they're focusing on being the high-res king, focusing on 8K video and really in-depth 8K capabilities, integrating with their cinema lineup. Basically, the moniker of Resolution King and 8K are the two words that keep buzzing around as being what that camera is all about. We'll come back to it, but I want to know, do you think that's the way to go? To have their flagship camera be about super high res and video? I could say that, in a way, the Z9, which I use, has kind of done the same thing as well, but they don't have a cinema lineup that, Nikon users could move to if they were really serious about wanting XLR and all of the pro level stuff. And if they're really focused on being the king of resolution, I don't know where they're going to be aiming, because already with Nikon being at 50 megapixel and staying fast, you're at the absolute limit of what the fastest cards on the market are able to do. And actually, you're beyond it. The cards can't keep up at this point. So if Canon's going to aim to be the real high-res king, are they just kind of getting rid of their sports shooters who have relied on the top-tier camera from that brand for decades? The second one, the R6 Mark II. So the R6 and the R5 were announced on the same day, released on the same day 2 years ago, so it is about time in the upgrade cycle for a successor. What the rumors are saying right now, to be honest, it's a real meh of an update. I don't see much interest there. Essentially, we're going to have the same dual pixel AF. I know a lot of people were hoping that it was going to be brought to a new generation that would improve the autofocus capabilities. The same 12 frames a second, the same form factor, the same media card slots, all of that kind of stuff. It's going from 20 to 24 megapixels. Now, if you are a still shooter and you're wanting more resolution, I know resolution isn't everything to everyone, but only 4 megapixel this day and age doesn't sound like a whole lot. But I remember when, cameras went from 12 to 14 to 16, it was big and exciting. And that is, at the end of the day, a 25% increase. You will notice a difference in the output of your work. So if you're a still shooter, great. But I think for video shooters, it could actually turn out to be a big downgrade. It's going to have the same 4K 30p and 4K 60 with a crop. Now the R6 already has a 1.1 crop for 4K 60. With the extra resolution now being a 24 megapixel sensor instead of a 20 megapixel sensor, is that crop going to jump up to 1.3, 1.4 crop, or where are we going to find that land? The only other thing kind of in there is a digital teleconverter, and I'll be interested how this is going to be applied. A digital teleconverter kind of sounds like shooting your full frame camera in DX mode and just getting the extra reach. I'm not really sure what else that could be. A digital teleconverter, hopefully it's not just digitally zooming. I assume it's going to be cropping in on the sensor. So it just sounds like a fancy way of saying maybe that it has different crop modes like a Leica Q2 has. Is that the right name? I think it's a Q2. That you can choose the widest or 2 or 3 different frame ratios that give you smaller and smaller files but give you longer and longer reach. It's kind of just a little piece of firmware. It's kind of a nothing feature. There may, however, be one saving grace. If the 24 megapixel sensor they put in it is the one that's coming out of the R3, that could be great. That's a stack sensor, it's fantastic, and that would be a big upgrade over the 20 megapixel sensor that the R6 has right now. But we have no info on that, and Canon do seem to like to protect their different lineups fairly strongly, shall we say, and we're going to get to that in a little bit as well. So I actually don't know that they will filter that sensor down so quickly. It would be great if they did, because otherwise, I mean, what are we talking about here? Digital teleconverter and an extra 4 megapixels. If it's not that sensor, after 2 years, that's really not much of an upgrade to talk about. On paper, not very interesting. No update for the R5 rumored. The R1, we're talking about a year away, and the R6 II, as I just described. But what do we think of the R1 being a super high res and video centered camera? It feels like maybe the R3 is really the flagship as we used to know it, the lower res, high frames per second, best autofocus capability sport camera on the market. So is the R3 actually the 1DX successor? And is the R1 actually going to be more of a successor for something like the Canon 5DS and 5D-SR, which were all about resolution? What do you think? And is that the right way to go, to have the flagship be pandering to video shooters, and then this mid-range potentially giving a bit more resolution but putting more crop on the video and then hurting video shooters? I don't know. If you're at that absolute top tier, just think about how much the R3 already costs. The R1 is going to cost a damn fortune. You really are up into cinema camera territory if you're wanting to go that route. And there is significant difference in the kind of interfaces you're getting going from, you know, a mirrorless camera to a cinema camera. I know this because my videographer is right now going through the mind-warping process of trying to choose out which Sony Cine camera he wants. There are big differences as you go up through the levels. Now, on top of all of that, I think the biggest issue though with Canon now is what they're doing with their lenses. Don't get me wrong, the Canon mirrorless lenses are absolutely some of the best out there. Their f2 zoom, the 1.2 50 prime, the 85, they're gorgeous, gorgeous lenses, but they're huge, they're incredibly expensive, and they're just openly on the record that they're not going to let third-party manufacturers onto their mount. So with what's going on with the bodies, and you only have the option of their hugely expensive lenses, there isn't the option that third-party autofocus licensed lenses are going to be coming. What do you think about the direction that Canon overall is taking? I have to say, I think Nikon have made loads of missteps over the past 5 or 10 years, and I'm not here to apologize for them. I'm not a shareholder or a spokesperson or any of that. I'm not here to defend them. But I have to say, finally, where we are now in 2022, it feels pretty good to have stuck onto the boat with Nikon, weathered the storm of the early mirrorless cameras, and now have a flagship like the Z9 that's only $5,500, that has loads of different lens options, different zooms. You probably saw the video I just did. There's like 3 ultra-wide zooms, 3 standard zooms, a couple of telephoto zooms, heaps of long lenses, and, you know, primes. You've got all the different 50s at different apertures and price points. It's actually really great to see, and they are opening up their lens mount for licensed lenses. Tamron already have one out and more in the works. I think as a Canon shooter, I would be a little bit miffed that my flagship is now going to be in 2023, 5 years after mirrorless hit the market, and there's no option for getting other third-party lenses. So let me know your thoughts. I personally can't see the logic in it, and I wouldn't be comfortable if I were in that ecosystem right now. Hopefully some of the rumors are wrong and there's some corrections on the way. Leave me your thoughts below. Please don't bite my head off. I'll see you soon.